KKVU HD3 Stevensville and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's time for Montana's only daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I like football!
Now here's your host, Coulter Nuanez.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday. And welcome in. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Plenty to get to today. Hope you had a good weekend. You know when you give your dog a haircut, and then they're all bashful because they don't know what they look like? Well, I got the first, action. I get my beard, kind of manicured, let's say, but I don't actually trim it that much. You know, I get the crazy growers. I get it shaped up, but I usually keep it like a pretty robust length, and that's been the case since, I think, last July. I've been basically growing my playoff beard for, I don't know, the better part of a year. I don't know what got into me, because a lot of guys, their beards, it bugs them, right? It gets itchy or it's cumbersome. So they don't like it. They don't like the process of growing it. That doesn't bother me at all. First of all, I use, this is probably way too much information, but use beard oil and moisturizer and stuff. So I don't get the itchy part ever. But for some reason today, it was just driving me nuts. I was just feeling like I got to get rid of some of this growth. So went on over there, got the dome shaved. It's also funny because I usually say, hey, just take it down as much as you can, just with the clippers. But I don't need the foam and the head shave or all that. But this gal today, she said, well, I could get you skin if you want skin. You might as well start spring off right. And I said, hey, why not? It'll last for an extra week or so. So we got the head all the way down to the skin, not even a little titch of hair on there. And we got the beard definitely as short as it's been since Hayden's been producing the show. So I feel like that dog that's walking around what did you do? The haircut. It's going to be really funny because my son, he's a little over 2. He's probably going to be like, what did you do to your face? Dada, what happened to your beard? I can already see it now. So we will we'll certainly see how that goes. I'll give you an update. But if I keep looking at myself up on the TV, it's because I think I look funny. Hopefully, I think I probably always look kind of funny. I actually think about that every day. I can't believe they gave me a daily TV show. But here we are, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana TV, and the ESPN MT app. Hopefully your bracket isn't too busted. If you took my advice, it's probably not bad. I said last week, and I got a lot of texts, a lot of tweets saying that I was being a hater, saying that my notion that Cinderella is dead was overblown and that we only have a 2-year sample size of this. So I was extrapolating. That's a lot of you guys said. Well, here we are now, after the first round of the NCAA tournament, the first weekend, I should say, of the NCAA tournament, into the Sweet 16. How many seeds you got that aren't 1, 2, 3, or 4? Not many. It was basically chalk into the Sweet 16. It's going to take a huge effort for it to not just be chalk into the Elite 8. But even if there are some quote-unquote upsets, well, Iowa as a 9 seed, that's the big upset of the second round, right? They beat Florida. Well, have you heard of Ben McCollum? He's one of the great coaches in all of college basketball. He sort of lingered, waiting for his turn at Northwest Missouri State. And he was in the mix a bunch of different times at a bunch of different schools, including at Montana State twice. But he decided to just stay and just rack up D2 national championships. And he won 4 of them in 6 years. And then he decided to make the jump to Drake, and they won 31 games, and then he decided to make the jump to Iowa. And what did Iowa do? Well, they put it all together yesterday, and they knocked off the defending national champion. So we will have a national champ. That's all to say, if Iowa, out of the Big Ten and one of the top 30 basketball budgets in the country, if that's your Cinderella, my notion is correct. Cinderella is dead. I'm not ready to say that yet. I'm not ready to say Cinderella is completely dead. The chances of non-high major programs winning to win even one game, let alone more than one game in the NCAA tournament, the chances of that are going to continue to dwindle. We're going to go through all the reasons why right off the top here. Montana has one basketball team left playing, period. College, high school, now the dust is settled on the NAIA National Tournament and high school basketball is over. The Montana State women, the last team left standing, they're in the WNIT. As you heard on Friday from Tricia Binford, they really felt that they got jobbed not getting into the WBIT. But as she said, young team, no seniors. Let's maximize this postseason opportunity. Well, they did yesterday. They rolled against San Francisco 69-53. An absolutely dominant 22-0 run to start the third quarter. Really broke the game open. And Montana State moving on in the WNIT. They are now into the quarterfinals of that tournament. They host Portland on Thursday. So we are going to catch up with Ian Laird. He's the play-by-play man for both Montana State men's and women's basketball. He does that on ESPN Plus. So looking forward to get Ian's insight. He's been sitting courtside at games for the last couple of years now. So excited to hear from him and hear what he had to say about the game yesterday. We also, that's coming up about 4:30. Also, we got the Gatorade Player of the Year in boys basketball. It's Lincoln Rogers from Missoula Sentinel. So we'll hash out that conversation again because I just think it's an important one. Also, I think that there's an interesting dynamic that's going on. Missoula has been the home to the Gatorade Player of the Year on the boys' side plenty of times over the last 10 to 12 years. It's also been home on the girls' side, and this year, both Gatorade Players of the Year are from Missoula. Spencer Laird, a junior at Loyola, was the girls' Gatorade Player of the Year in basketball, and Lincoln Rogers from Missoula Sentinel, the boys' Gatorade Player of the Year in basketball. So a hoops-heavy hour number one. Hour number two, we will talk some football because the Grizz get back going today for spring ball. Second half of spring ball coming your way for the University of Montana. They got 3 weeks left leading up to the April 10th spring game. And then the Bobcats start spring ball tomorrow, and that will then culminate with the spring game, the Sunny Holland Classic, on April 25th. So Cats are doing it a little bit more concise. 4 weeks of spring ball for Montana. I guess 5 weeks of spring ball for Montana State. The Grizz, I guess it'll end up being about 5 weeks by the time it's all said and done. They went for 2 weeks. Then they took last week off for spring break, and they come back for 3 more weeks. So just different schedules, but we'll talk some football on both the Grizz and Bobcat sides. What does a running back mean? That's going to be the theme of one of the conversations today, because certainly you have to have a good running back, but I also think that we are in a bad spot if Montana or Montana State, in the current iteration of college football, the current version of the FCS, if they don't have a bunch of running backs, that's not good, because it's one of the easiest positions to evaluate. It's one of the easiest positions to recruit. For all the talk and all the notion that the Big Sky Conference has become a farm system for the big leagues, that's not true when it comes to running backs. Some of the best running backs in the Western United States have picked the Big Sky and then chosen to stay in the Big Sky, and they've been prolific in the Big Sky. So we'll talk about that dynamic. Obviously, Montana, an entrenched player in Eli Gilman, who we heard from on last week's show, and that's going to be the bell cow for the Grizz. But what's behind him? I mean, Gilman's going to get, depending on how many games the Grizz play, between 180 and 250 carries probably, right? That's a lot. But he's just one man. He is a supreme athlete, but he is one man. So you have to have, if you're going to run the ball, let's say you're going to run 75 to 80 plays in a given football game. Let's say Gilman's going to touch it 18 to 20 times. All right. And then let's say you're going to throw it 35 to 40 times. All right. You still got 15 more run plays to run, 15 to 20 more plays that you got to enact. Well, who else is going to get the ball? That's been a huge key to the Grizz success and to Gilman's success, having a guy that's like a number 2 punch, like a Nick Ostmo or a Malai Finoti or a Stevie Rocker Jr. These guys are all really good. So who's next for the Grizz behind Gilman with, Ostmo obviously graduated 2 years ago. Finoti transferred to Missouri. Rocker graduated this last year. So there's a interesting depth chart that's forming behind Gilman. Interesting position battle to be. Backup's the wrong word. The number 2 running back. But the number 2 running back for any college team is going to get carries, right? At Montana State, they got really lucky last year that Julius Davis and Adam Jones stayed healthy. So they basically had a 1A and a 1B. I think those guys, they both, they were like 4 carries apart for the season. So, to have basically starter carries from 2 different spots and have both guys rush for over 1,000 yards, that is ideal. That is super uncommon, right? So, Davis graduating, he's working on his NFL dreams right now. And Jones has been able to stay healthy for 2 years. And that's a testament to him, his strength and conditioning routine, Sean Herron, the strength and conditioning coach, the training staff, luck, all of that. But it's an interesting thought of who's going to be the next guy with Jones, right? Is there a guy that's good enough to be that 1B again? Or is there going to be, by committee, basically behind Jones? There's a whole bunch of young guys for Montana. So we'll hash all that out at 5 o'clock. And then at 5:30, we'll have our latest Grizz post-practice interview. Young man who I thought was a rising star coming out of Kalispell Glacier High School. He is now, in my opinion, playing the position that he should have been playing this entire time, and I think he has a chance to make a big impact for the Grizz football team. It's Isaac Keim from Kalispell Glacier. He was our vertical raise Class AA Player of the Year on defense his senior year at Glacier. And then he redshirted. He played tight end during his redshirt year, switched back to the D-line last year, but now here he is, a third-year sophomore. He's put on some weight. He, at least the spring roster right now, lists him at 6'4", 265. I love his frame. I think he's the perfect type of guy to be like a 3-technique / a strong end, 5'eye type of body type. Think like a Cam Hayward, like poor man's Cam Hayward. So I'm excited to talk to Isaac. If you haven't noticed, our formula here sort of for these Grizz post-practice interviews is I'm getting guys that I thought were really good high school players that have been sort of waiting their turn. So I think it's a huge spring for guys like Keim, for guys like Cash Gokachia, who's also a Glacier product, for guys like Grady Walker out of Missoula Sentinel, Austin Beeler from Helena Capital. I mean, sure, Clay Oven got a bunch of playing time last year, but for a guy like Clay Oven, can he rise up? Like he was a contributor, a good, solid player last year as a sophomore for the Grizz. Next step for him is to be an all-conference player. This is a huge opportunity for him to take a step towards that next step. Some of these Montana guys who I thought were good recruits, because there's been a whole bunch made of the in-state recruiting battle, and I think some of the criticism is accurate and valid. I think some of the criticism is a little bit overblown. Because here's the thing. The guys that have been producing in the in-state recruiting battle are guys that the Cats got several years ago. The Grizz have actually gotten some good guys the last couple of years from in the state of Montana. Those guys have just been waiting their turn. You know, the pundits and the critics would say, well, a lot of those guys, like an Austin Beeler, for example, have not gotten a chance to get their turn because the Grizz have put such a high priority on transfers, especially on the defensive and offensive. And I can see that, right? Like the offensive linemen certainly. I mean, I'm not a coach. I'm just an analyst. Didn't stay at the Holiday Inn Express last night, but I do think that the most effective way that I have observed in 20 years of covering the Big Sky Conference, that offensive line, the weight and the strength on their frames, you throw them in there and you let them trial by fire. So I think on the lines, maybe those guys have been stifled a little bit. Some of the other guys, I just think that they've had to wait their turn, and that's just how it goes. I think that Keim, at least he should be, right on schedule. I think he'll contribute as a defensive lineman this year, as a redshirt sophomore. That's sort of where you want to be at if you are a program that has good players and good depth. So anyways, that's all to say. Isaac Keim will join us here in about an hour and 15 minutes, about 5:30. He will chime in here right after practice gets done. Mine was great. Thanks for asking. We had a weird deal yesterday, though. We were just kind of going back and forth between inside and outside because it was a beautiful day, but we're also watching hoops and had a couple friends over, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we hear this weird pop, and I smell something, and I'm like, what's going on? Then I realized, it's a bright, sunshiny day. We got all the shades open, all the windows open, everything. So I couldn't tell that the lights had went out, but the TV went out. So then I'm like, what's going on? So I wander out into the street. All of a sudden, everybody in my neighborhood's out on the sidewalk. We're all looking around. There's a lot that is empty right now, but there's a new build going in there. But that's where, the power box is. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but something went pop, and then all of a sudden, it was on fire. And then all of a sudden, the fire department was there, powered for 3 hours. But got it locked in, figured it out, all good. But it was a little bit of an adventuresome Sunday for us. And thanks to the fire department for coming on over and fixing it up. Thanks to Northwestern Energy for making sure they got back online, back on the grid. It is funny, though. This day and age, we're also we have everybody. I think has, I don't know about everybody, but I think a lot of people have vibrant social lives. But the social lives are crafted a lot differently than they used to be. I think it used to be almost a prerequisite and a requirement to be friends with your neighbor. Missoula also used to be a way smaller town. But I've lived in the place I've lived at now for about 10 months. And I know the people on either side of me. The guy that lives right across the street from me, I went to high school with him. So, I say hello, what's going on, when I see him. But we do not do a ton of socializing with our neighbors. And I hadn't met a lot of the people that live on the street. And that's just, I don't think that's that uncommon this day and age. Especially because we have a whole new neighborhood, right? It's new builds up and down. Everybody's sort of new to the area. So I just thought it was funny that it took the power box being on fire and the fire truck being in the middle of the street for us to all say, hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah, I live over there. My name is. How's it going? But, got to meet all my neighbors 10 months in, so here we are. But best of the weekend was watching hoops, kicking it, and Friday. So I appreciate everybody that came down and said hello. Came down to the press box as well. That one was a particularly good and flattering turnout, so we appreciate you, and thanks so much for hanging out. Other best of the weekend, Montana women's basketball. We mentioned it. They used a third quarter blitz to roll to a 69-53 win over San Francisco. Taylor Chiric had 6 steals. She also had 15 points, as Montana State forced 28 turnovers. Addison Harris chipped in 14 points, and Isabel Bunyan hit 4 3-pointers on the way to 12 points as the Bobcats rolled into the quarterfinals of the WNIT. They now have 26 wins, which stands alone as the second most in the history of the program, behind only last year when they won 30 games. The other team that was still alive from the state of Montana was the Rocky Mountain College Battling Bears, the men's basketball team there from Rocky. They gutted out a 1-point win in the second round of the NAIA National Tournament. Then they gutted out an overtime win over Frontier Conference foe Bellevue, and that helped them get to the Elite Eight for the first time in their program's history. They fell short in the Elite Eight, but what a run it was for Rocky. They did not lose a game in 2026 until they lost that game. Their three previous losses came during the 2025 portion of the schedule, but they ended up the year on a 21-game winning streak before their final loss. They ended up with 31 overall wins. They ended up with their first Frontier Conference title since 2014, their first NAIA National Playoff appearance since 2019, and I think by all accounts you could say it's one of, if not the greatest seasons in the history of Rocky Mountain College men's basketball. So great job by them. Pretty intriguing that it was under a first-year head coach in Danny Neville. He did a great job, coach of the year in the NAIA. He certainly deserves it, or at least deserves a look to be in the mix for that. So good job by them. But now, here we are. One team left when it comes to the basketball playing folks from the state of Montana. Nuanez Now coming to you from the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Here's what the Sweet 16 looks like. In the Eastern region, it's Duke and St. John's. Duke was in a slugfest with TCU, but then absolutely dismantled the Horned Frogs down the stretch. TCU has won games in the NCAA tournament before, but they've never won two. They've never been to the Sweet 16. So they'll have to wait another year. And Duke, it seemed like after getting pushed by Siena and then pushed early by TCU, they seemed to find their flow, and then they looked like the number one overall seed. They looked like the team that's one of the favorites to win the NCAA tournament. St. John's needed a buzzer beater from Dylan Darling to beat Kansas. Does that name sound familiar? Well, it should. He was the Big Sky Conference MVP at Idaho State last year before transferring to St. John's. So St. John's, one of the only quote-unquote upsets of the second round. They're a 5 seed defeating a 4 seed in Kansas. But I have a really hard time saying that's an upset. St. John was favored by 4.5 in that game. I mean, it's St. John's. They play at Madison Square Garden. It's what else do you need to say, right? On the bottom side of the western part of the bracket, Michigan State had little trouble with Louisville, and UConn absolutely destroyed UCLA. So it's UConn versus Michigan State and Duke versus St. John's to the right to go to the regional final. In the South, that's where you had probably your one upset. Iowa, ice in the veins. They hit a 3 in the waning seconds against Florida, and that helped boost them to a 73-72 win. So we will have a new national champion. Ben McCollum, a guy that was in the Division II ranks at Southwest Missouri State forever, and people kept wondering why. When he won 24 games in 2013 and then 25 the next year, went to the Sweet 16 2 years in a row, he was a name that was on the list of a whole bunch of various different mid-majors. Well, he stayed on that list forever because then they won Northwest Missouri State won the D2 National Championship in 2016. They won it again in 2018. They won it again in 2021 and again in 2022. I mean, there was a stretch there where Ben McCollum went 35-1, 27-4, 38-0, 31-1, 29-2, 34-1, 31-3, 30-5. I mean, the guy was an absolute winning machine. During his time at Northwest Missouri State, he went 395 wins and 91 losses. He was 304 games over 500. Pretty amazing. And that's with having losing seasons the first 2 years. So he had an absolute role in there. But everybody kept wondering, like when the guy got his 3rd and 4th national championship rings, everybody's wondering, well, when's he going to make the jump? Well, seems like he played his cards absolutely perfectly because he went to Drake and led the Bulldogs to an NCAA tournament win last year, and then he landed at Iowa. And certainly the Hawkeyes had their ups and downs in the Big Ten. They finished 9th in the regular season standings, but they're still a 23-win team, and now they're a Sweet 16 team. So I think that Ben McCollum has that squad right on track. So again, if Iowa is your version of a Cinderella because you see the 9 next to their name, well, that's fine. I guess you can revel in that. But, I mean, it's Iowa, and, you know, they're a Big Ten program with plenty of tradition. So I guess that's just sort of where we're at. But that sets up a Sweet 16 matchup with Nebraska. Nebraska needed a furious rally and a huge bucket at the end, and then they needed a buzzer beater to lip out to beat Vanderbilt. That was actually an upset, even though Nebraska's a 4 and Vanderbilt's a 5, because Nebraska was the underdog, 1.5-point dogs going into that thing. On the bottom side of that bracket, the seeds hold. Illinois destroyed VCU 76-55, and Houston absolutely embarrassed Texas A&M 88-57. So you got 2 versus 3 with a chance to go to the regional final there between Illinois and Houston. And Nebraska and Iowa will play in that other regional semifinal. Nuanez Now on tonight, ESPN Radio. Hopefully you got entered in to our tournament challenge. Hopefully your bracket's not too busted. If you followed my advice and basically took the chalk, you're probably sitting in pretty good shape. In the Western region, Arizona beat Utah State 78-66, and Arkansas gets past High Point, who was sort of the Cinderella. High Point had that one of the only big upsets of the first round. Is VCU over North Carolina, High Point over Wisconsin. Those were your 2 double-digit non-power 4 seeds that got through. Texas also did, and Texas beat Gonzaga then in round 2. Again, I have a hard time calling Texas a Cinderella. They're an 11 seed. That's fine. To me, an 11 seed out of the SEC means that you just underachieved. You had high expectations, you underachieved, but you found a way to sneak in the tournament. And now Texas has won 3 games in the tournament because they won that play-in game as well, but they get into the Sweet 16. So have a hard time saying they're a Cinderella. But High Point did push Arkansas, 94-88. So now Arkansas-Arizona is one of the 2 regional semifinals in the West. And Texas versus Purdue. Purdue had a strong second half to get past Miami, 79-69. Finally, in the Midwest, Michigan looks like an absolute juggernaut. The Wolverines blasted St. Louis 95-72. They will take on Alabama, who had no problem with Texas Tech. Grant McCallum had a great team last year that went to the Elite Eight, Texas Tech that is, but he had no answers for Alabama yesterday. They got up and down. They shot the 3 like they're expected to do, and they win 90-65. So it's Michigan, Alabama in one of those regional semifinals. And then the other quote-unquote upset of the day was Tennessee. But this is 5 out of 6 years that Tennessee's been in the Sweet 16, so hard to say they're some sort of Cinderella. But they did beat Virginia. Tennessee was the 6, Virginia was the 3. 79-72 was the final in that one, and Tennessee will take out Iowa State. Iowa State drubbed Kentucky 82-63. Kentucky sort of just rolled over and died. So again, here is your schedule for the Sweet 16 coming up here. This starts on Thursday. Sorry, just getting these to load real quick. On Thursday, you got Purdue versus Texas. That's at 5:10 p.m. Then you got Iowa versus Nebraska at 5:30. Arkansas versus Arizona at 7:45. And Illinois versus Houston at 8:05. On Friday, you got St. John's Duke at 5:10. Alabama, Michigan at 5:35. Michigan State and UConn at 7:45. And Tennessee versus Iowa State at 8:10 p.m. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Here's what we need you to do. If you, I know that if you entered our tournament challenge, you've been tracking your bracket. You know where you sit with us, right? So if you are in the top 10, let's say, right? I mean, if you're in the mix, if you think you have a chance to win, first of all, awesome job. Good for you. But we need you to text us because I've explained this year after year. I know it seems weird, but it's pretty frustrating. I can see your team name, right? So, for example, Seth W _07. You are in first place. You're tied with 4201 Brett's Picks 24. Those 2 teams are tied in the Nuanez Now bracket. Okay? DT's pick 1. I know who DT is, but I don't know who all you guys are, right? Like some of you guys, I know who you are because some of you just use your name, right? Like DT, that's my buddy Derek. He's one of my college roommates. I know it's him, right? But I don't know who 4201 Brett is. I don't know who Seth W is. I probably do, but I don't know who you are just based on those names. So I need you to text us, 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Text us and let us know what your real name is so we can start tracking this thing. I want to get any of the people that can finish in the top 3. I mean, probably if you are anywhere in the top 25 right now, you probably have a chance to still finish in the top 3 depending on how it goes, which Final Four teams you get, who's your national champ, all that stuff. I just want to start compiling as many names as possible so that we can get these to you. We've had good luck tracking down people in the past, but then there's been some years where you might get first, second, or third, and we can't find you. So we need you to tell us, 406-888-1029. I'm starting the process early. We still have multiple weeks left of this. But if you want, I mean, if you're going to win these things, we got to know who you are, right? So if you are anywhere near the top of the leaderboard in the Nuanez Now Bracket Challenge, text us, 406-888-1029. We got a $500 gift card to the Jewelry Design Center. That's a grand prize. We also have a bunch of prizes from Zootown Sports Cards, from DraftWorks, from DBAT, from Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill, from Tagliere. We got all sorts of fun prizes for you. So let us know, what's your name? Like, who are you? Tell us your username and then what your real name is, and then we'll have your phone number in the system, 406-888-1029. I have some more thoughts on why this is such a chalky first round. I mean, if you're looking at the seeds, I mean, you're talking about pretty much across the board chalk besides a couple teams. You also saw the highest margin of victory for first-round games ever. You saw 13 of the first-round games decided by 20 or more points. That's a tournament record. I think we're probably fast-tracking towards having only 1s and 2s in the Elite Eight and only 1s in the Final Four. I have thoughts as to why, and I know a lot of other national sports writers do too. So we'll do that a little later on in the show, but for now, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk some Montana State women's hoops. Ian Laird will join us. He is the voice of Montana State men's and women's basketball on ESPN+. That's next. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. 102.9 ESPN Radio.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the uniquely designed and well-equipped 2024 Buick Encore GX with models starting at $28,895. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to demorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Encores and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
It's easy to see why Montana is the treasure state. At the University of Montana, we look inside. We see an old truth with fresh eyes, that Montana's greatest treasure is its people. So whatever tomorrow brings, we meet it the only way we know how, with a mind for making. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
.org.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The Montana State women's basketball team is the only college team from Montana still playing after Rocky Mountain College's men lost a heartbreaker. I'm Jeff Safford. The Battling Bears had its epic run come to an end with a 60-55 loss to Langston University in the quarterfinals of the NAIA National Tournament. Rocky boat raced Simpson 94-59 before squeaking out a 67-66 win over Masters to advance to the round of 16 in Kansas City. A dramatic 78-73 overtime win over Frontier Conference squad Bellevue took them to the Elite Eight. Saturday, Rocky's historic season came to an end despite 21 points from Omari Nesbitt. Rocky finished the season 31-4. The Battling Bears had a season for the record books, setting new program highs in wins and conference wins. A program record 21-game winning streak also ended Saturday. Rocky won its first Frontier Conference championship since 2014 and earned its first national tournament appearance since 2019. The Bobcat women took care of business at home home Sunday to keep its season alive in the second round of the WNIT. Taylor Chiric had 6 steals, and MSU forced 28 San Francisco turnovers on the way to a 69-53 win. The win is Montana State's 26th of the season, marking the second highest total in program history, behind only last year's 30-win campaign.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Colter Nuanez. We're coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio. If you have a construction project going on, Grizzly Disposal has construction roll-off boxes. They can get them to you within 24 hours. Don't wait days or even weeks. Grizzly Disposal has them in stock. Can get you construction roll-off boxes fast. Visit GrizzlyDisposal.com or call 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171. Grizzly Disposal. The only bears that should be in your garbage. I was reckoning that Montana State's game yesterday on March 22nd was probably the latest game on the calendar ever played at Brick Breeden Fieldhouse. I confirmed that is indeed true. And now they have another one with Portland coming to town on Thursday, the WNIT in full force, and the Bobcat women into the quarterfinals of that tournament. It was a good effort yesterday, especially in the second half. Montana State really ran away from San Francisco on the way to a 69-53 win. If you watched it on the ESPN Plus stream, you'll recognize this voice, Ian Laird, who's the voice of Montana State, both men's and women's basketball, during all the Bobcat home games there in Bozeman, joining us now here on Nuanez Now. Ian, what's up, bud? How you doing?
Oh, living the dream down here in Bozeman, just buying things my daughter wants but doesn't need.
Well, sounds like a familiar story, certainly. And so did the third quarter of that game yesterday. I actually thought the third quarter of the game against San Francisco yesterday looked like oftentimes the first quarter for Montana State does. They're so good at just putting the pressure on you and just strangling you to death. I've been teasing that they're the Mike Tyson of the Big Sky Conference because they get all these first-round knockouts. It was more like a third-quarter knockout yesterday, but still a pretty familiar formula. What did you think of just the way the Cats sort of put the clamps down and ran away from San Francisco yesterday?
You know, I brought it up on my keys to the game to start the game was rest versus rust. The Bobcats had kind of a bad taste in their mouth from the last time they played, but they hadn't played in over a week. And so would they be rusty or would they be rested? I think they came out a little rusty. I think they forced some things because of the way that game went in the Big Sky Championship. But once they settled down, they do what they do. And they ran with them. San Francisco wants to press the whole game as well. They did a good job of breaking that early. But like always, the Bobcats will just wear you down. And by the end of the second, beginning of the third quarter, that whole third quarter, it was pretty much done for.
22-2 run to open the third quarter for the MSU women. They ended up with 28 forced turnovers. Certainly coming out of the Big Sky Championship game, I mean, they were heartbroken, but it was an interesting situation because it wasn't crying over a career being finished because they did not have a senior. So Tricia Binford lobbied hard in the postgame following their 2-point loss to Idaho and said, I really hope we can play again. And I know that they wanted to get in the WBIT. They didn't, but they get this WNIT bid. So, I mean, what do you think of just this opportunity for a young team? Because you've covered them all year long, and it seems like they've grown quite a bit. Where have you seen them grow, and how much do you think a postseason berth like this can help them grow even more?
Well, I think it's great for them. I think they can grow a bunch. I think it's great for the university, and honestly, it's great for the Big Sky. You win the NCAA tournament, and you go against an Oklahoma and lose by 30. And everyone says, all right, great season. You have a chance to prove yourself here. And I think that's what Binford stressed to them in this. I think the growth mainly has come from not just that they don't have any seniors, but they play a ton of freshmen and sophomores
right.
as well. Their best players are 2 sophomores. on the team. And so the more you can play together, I listened to your interview earlier, just so you know, I listen to all your shows, when Binford was talking about how this is almost another season. And I think they brought that mindset in. You could tell they were angry about the way their season ended at the beginning of the games. They were a little rushed. They were a little hurried. But again, I think you could see that they all wanted to keep playing. They didn't know if they could. So it's a big turnaround of, man, our season's over, to, nope, we've got more to go. And I think MSU is going to try to set them up to where they can have as many home games as possible through this. And I don't know that for sure, but it looks like that's the way it'll go, to make a good run at this and on a really positive note.
Well, it's a cool opportunity for the Bozeman community, no doubt. Ian Laird joining us. He's on the call for ESPN Plus as Montana State, the last basketball team in the state of Montana that's playing. College, high school, anybody. That's pretty cool. And they will host Portland on Thursday in the quarterfinals of the WNIT. There was over 2,200 people, 2,238, the official attendance there at Brick Breeden Fieldhouse yesterday. That was the highest attended game in all of women's basketball outside of the NCAA tournament sites, obviously. But out of the WBIT, the WNIT, only Kansas State, who played the WBIT, drew more. So Montana State really carrying the flag. They had almost double attendance of anybody else in the WNIT. So I think that's pretty awesome testament to the Bozeman community. It seems like Bozeman is really leaning into the fact that this team's still playing. So how much do you think that sort of can charge this team? Because they've been great at home, especially in recent years under Tricia Binford, but this team seems to particularly love playing at home. So how much do you think this home court advantage just plays for this young team and their confidence?
It's huge. They haven't lost at home, like you said. The crowd was great. I think they actually outdrew, and I could be wrong on this, but 4 Power 4 NIT tournament games.
They did.
Yeah, and so the crowd got into it early. A lot of times you see coaches like trying to pump the crowd up, like, I need you to be loud now. They didn't need directions. They were loud from the jump. Slow start again kind of made everybody a little nervous, but when they hit that huge run in the third quarter, crowd really got into it. And when you talk to people in the community, they're all talking about this team. Yesterday, today, on message boards, on social media, they're all talking about how, we should go watch this team. It's a really special team and atmosphere. So I think that's a huge advantage, and I think that's why MSU is going to try so hard, because, again, this is a bid tournament. So you have to bid on home games, and whoever bids the most. And I don't know if anybody can outbid the Bobcats with the support they have.
Well, the fact that they are a really infectious group. They're a really fun group to be around. You've got a chance to be around them all year long, covering all these games at home. I also know you've done some business with these young ladies off the court as well. How would you just describe that? I mean, because they're a really fun group to be around from your seat. Like, how would you describe the way this group is and how they interact?
They are so fun. They all love each other. They love Bozeman. They love playing the game. They've all got each other's backs. It doesn't matter if they're on the bench when they think they should be in or not. They are there for one another, and I think that's something Coach Ben has really stressed in her recruiting and everything, is having that team that it's all for one kind of attitude. And it's a cliche, of course, but it's not easy to get. And they laugh. I think there was a clip I saw somewhere on social media during a timeout of the game against San Francisco, where Couture and Tegan Erickson, the Seiko kid, she was showing her how she juked out this player, and they were laughing about it during the break. And that was on the court. They were just about to inbound it. And so they're just having fun. And when you see that, it bleeds into the crowd. It bleeds into the coaching staff, where everyone just has fun. And there's no showboating. There's no me ball, if you call it that. They just enjoy it, and it's awesome to be around.
Well, certainly an interesting opportunity on Thursday, because it's not often that you get to play a non-conference opponent that you played way back in November again. But that's the case. Montana State, their first game of the year, their first actual non-exhibition Division I game was at the University of Portland way back on November 7th. Bobcats won that one pretty easily, 86-72, but now they get Portland coming to their place. So any early scout on Portland, or what do you think of just the fact that they get a sort of a rematch here with a team that they maybe have at least a little bit of familiarity with?
Well, I talked about on the broadcast that San Francisco is a lot like Montana State. Portland is more like Montana State than even San Francisco is. I think the Cats had a season high, and I don't have my notes in front of me. I think it was like 24 or 28 turnovers in that game, but they forced 33, which was a season high for Portland. So, again, it's early season. That's a lot of that is just because you're brand new, new players and everything else. Portland likes to run. They like to press. They like to do the same kind of things as the Bobcats do. Unfortunately, Bobcats are just better at those things than a lot of these teams. And if they could beat them like that in Portland, not saying it's going to happen because anything can happen, but Montana State has a very good chance to come away with I think it's called the Super 16 win and move them into the Great Eight.
Well, certainly that will be very fun if this is to occur. But I think that's the last thing I'll ask you here, because I think that is the sort of the golden opportunity here, right? Like, you look at the teams that are left here in the Sweet 16, the Super 16, I guess they call it in the WNIT, and not all the bids have been punched yet. There's a couple more games going on this evening and tomorrow as well. But I mean, South Dakota, Pepperdine, Portland, Illinois State, Monmouth, Middle Tennessee. Those are all good, fine, solid mid-major programs. But it's not Oklahoma. It's not UConn. It's not UCLA. It's not Notre Dame. It's not Ohio State. So that's my last question.
Colorado, who the Bobcats beat.
Totally, right? And so that was, I think, what is so fun about this is you could say, well, this is the third-tier tournament. Hey, fine, whatever. You're in it now. Why not just go win it? Like, how cool would that be for Montana State to actually win a postseason tournament? So, I mean, do you think they could? And I mean, why not? Why not have that be the mentality for this team?
If they can stay at home, I don't see any reason why they can't. Again, anything can happen at any time. I mean, you saw how they played down at Idaho State on the road. But a young team that's not going to get tired. I mean, you've talked about Chiric. She never gets tired, ever, in the history of her life. She runs marathons after practice just to wind down. It's ridiculous. And so if they can keep that energy and have a little chip on your shoulder. I mean, San Francisco coaches told me, they're like, why is this team not in the WBIT? And I told them, you know what, it doesn't matter now. They're in this one, and they got to play in it, and they have a chance to win it. I think it would be huge for the community and mainly the program and these girls if they could make it to the end and win it. And I think they have every opportunity to do that.
Well, that would be very fun if they can, but that starts on Thursday with this matchup against Portland in the Super 16 of the WNIT. Ian Laird joining us here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Good talking to you, buddy. We'll catch up soon, but thanks so much for chipping in here today.
Always appreciate you having me on. Thanks, Colter.
There you go. Ian Laird, play-by-play man for ESPN Plus for both Bobcat men and women's basketball, and fun deal for the Bobcats going on right now. Again, like they were mad and salty that they did not get into the WBIT. They should have been. They have a net ranking in the mid-60s. They absolutely should have been in the WBIT. There's teams that made the WBIT that haven't won a game since January. Montana State's won 26 games and counting. But if this is where you get into, it's where you're at. So you might as well try to make a run, right? And if they keep getting home games, I don't want to get out over my skis here, but I think they'll beat Portland on Thursday. So then you're going to play the winner of South Dakota and Pepperdine. That's an interesting matchup because South Dakota is led by Carrie Amy, who's a former Idaho coach. South Dakota has had some crazy high water marks, and they went to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament a handful of years ago. But that would be a cool deal. Or Pepperdine. Who's Pepperdine's coach? Katie Faulkner, formerly Katie Baker, Big Sky MVP at Montana for the Lady Grizz once upon a time. So you got some good ties there, and I think that'd be a good matchup either side. So I mean, the fact that you're still playing basketball into March, it's a cool opportunity for Montana State. And if they keep drawing like they are right now, that's also a cool opportunity because you do have to bid on the games. You have to pay to get a home game. But then if you're selling 2,200 tickets, I think you're probably coming out in the black on that. So it's a good opportunity for the athletic department financially as well Well, it's now 102.9 ESPN Radio. We'll keep on talking all things hoops on the other side. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. ESPN MT.
Les Schwab changed the tire game more than 70 years ago. Today, we still believe you should get more from less. Like more hustle, less hassle. More of the best service around, less of the runaround. Because we include America's best tire warranty in every tire we sell. So you get more unbeatable warranty, less charging you extra. It's why we're more than proud to say, you get more from less.
What do you expect me to say to her? She's getting married in 30 minutes.
We're doing everything we can.
John, can you hear me? John.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio. It's Nuanez Now coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Let's jump into a Prep Extra. It's probably presented by Farmers State Bank. Farmers State Bank, enriching the lives of Montanans since 1907. Last Friday, Lincoln Rogers named the Montana Gatorade Player of the Year in boys basketball. No surprise, but certainly a great tip of the cap to the Missoula Sentinel senior. He helped lead the Spartans to their first state championship in 40 years. The 6'8", 190-pound senior guard averaged 24.5 points, 9.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 2.5 steals per game. Led the state in Rebounding, steals, and blocks was just shy of the scoring title as well. That went to Hudson Letke from Butte High. Rogers shot 52% from the floor, 37% from beyond the arc. He also made the game-winning three-pointer in overtime to lift Sentinel to a 47-46 win over Billings West in the state championship game at Metro Park in Billings. He finished the state championship game with 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 blocked shots. Billings senior coach Drew Haas said in the Gatorade press release, Rogers is the best player in the state. I'd say because of his size, skill level, and what he brings to the table in terms of leadership, he was Sentinel's best player all season long. He has accepted a offer from Minnesota State Moorhead to continue his basketball career, which gets me to a point that I've made heavily on this show. And I just wanted to put a couple more statistics out there. So, the University of Montana, and I'm just starting with the Grizz, because if you're Montana State, for example, I can see reasons why you go after Lincoln Rogers in recruiting, and maybe reasons why you don't. There's a notion out there that Lincoln Rogers is going to the Division II ranks because that is sort of like an insurance policy for specifically the Grizz, but maybe either of the Montana schools. You let Rogers go to a Division II where he's going to play right away. You let him develop there and see what he can do. And maybe in a year or 2 years or 3 years, you bring him back. You sort of use the D2 like a junior college, right? Because he's not going to he's certainly not going to come in and play right away for either of the two schools. He is a unique player. Unique's the wrong word. He's a rare player because he has great height, great length, and great skill for how tall he is. He also is very skinny, and he has a lot of physical maturation left to do. But that's not that uncommon for a 17-year-old kid, right? I mean, that's so many people. But so I can see from a risk mitigation standpoint why you'd let him go. I focus on the University of Montana because, of course, it's in Missoula, and Rogers is going to graduate from Sentinel. And I think that you take the kid because of, you don't want to say you're recruiting because of headlines, but I just think you could get this kid to walk onto your basketball team or get him to walk on for, a small piece of financial aid. And you're going to promote goodwill in the community. Nobody's going to kill you for that. Nobody's going to be like, well, why didn't you recruit a different guy from Seattle or Oakland or anywhere else in the country? I think everybody in the community would be like, okay, you're taking this local kid, you're giving him a chance, and if he becomes something, which I think he has an unbelievable upside, if he becomes that, awesome, great job by you. If he doesn't become that, that's fine. Then he can still go to Minnesota State Moorhead or Montana Tech or College of Idaho or whatever. This harkens a bigger question to me, though. I went through all of the 1,000-point scorers in the history of the University of Montana. There has been 37 guys that have scored 1,000 points in University of Montana history. Just in the name of honoring the past, Larry Kristoviak is the all-time leading scorer in the history of the Grizz. He went to school. He grew up in Shelby and then went to high school at Missoula Big Sky. He played in the NBA for over a decade. He's a 3-time Big Sky Conference MVP. He's widely considered one of, if not the greatest players in the history of the conference. He's from Montana. Bob Cope, who was a great player for the Grizz in the 50s and the 60s. He's from Missoula. Kevin Criswell, the Colstrip Combine, 6th in school history in scoring. He's from Colstrip. Jordan Haskett, who was on Montana's NCAA tournament team that won a game 20 years ago. He's from Missoula. Sean Samuelson, who was a great player for the Grizz in the 90s. He's from Billings. Lou Rochlow, who was a great coach in his day, but first was a basketball player at Montana. He's 17th in school history from Missoula. Darren England from Geraldine. Chuck Davis from Dillon. Matt Keffert from Missoula. Chris Spoya from Helena. Ed Argenbright from Cutbank. Mark Glass from Kalispell. Craig Zanin from Kalispell. Scott Zanin from Kalispell. Roger Fasting from Glendive. Mike Warhank from Great Falls. Jeremy Lake from Lambert. Dan Balco from Great Falls. And Doug Selvig from Outlook. You also had a couple small school guys from like Brian Qualley and Matt Martin that are from the Dakotas, but not quite Montana. But there's been a lot of small school guys and small state guys that have risen up and really had big impacts on Grizz basketball. So the bigger question here is this. If Montana guys used to be good enough to play Division I, and now they no longer are, why? I don't know the answer to that. I don't think that's true. I think this is an opportunity issue, not a Montana guys are getting worse. I will say this. Basketball is not as good as it was in Montana because I think of the rise of football, and I also think this is true across the board. This is not just a Montana thing. This is an everywhere thing. The rise of video games. Like, I really just think that, and that might make me sound like such an old codger, but I really do think that there is, like, less just pick-up basketball going on. Like, you watch the Class B and C tournaments, and you can tell these kids, first of all, they play together a bunch, but they just flow so much better on a basketball court. It's the most ironic thing to me because you have guys that are way more skilled playing AA and A. Like, the skill level is as high as it's been in terms of everybody on the court can dribble between their legs and shoot threes. But, like, the flow of how they flow on the basketball court, pass and screen away, the motion offense, the way that you operate as a basketball team, the improvisation that makes basketball the beautiful game, that is lacking at such a high level. So I could see that. But I think that that's the case everywhere. That's not just in Montana. So if boys basketball players that are coming out of Montana aren't good enough to play Division I anymore, that's a big question as to why. Like, how do we get it back where there is guys like Josh Eustace that are coming out of the state of Montana, who then go on to play at Stanford and become first-round draft picks from by the Oklahoma City Thunder? Like, why is that guy not coming out of Montana anymore? Is it because all the big good guys go to football, or is it because there's a lack of priority, or is the development not as good? What's the why, right? If Montana high school basketball isn't as good, that's also another big why. If college basketball is way better and it's just surpassing these guys, well, I don't know, man. I told this story on the show before, and I know I'm up against it, but Kevin Criswell is a grade older than me. But when I was a freshman at the University of Montana, Kevin Criswell was redshirting for the Grizz basketball team. Kevin Criswell would be at the morning runs down there at the rec center. He would be at the noon ball runs down there at the rec center. He would be on the evening runs down there at the rec center. He would come play basketball all the time, hours and hours and hours a day when he wasn't practicing for the Grizz. Grizz guys used to come down and play in the open gym rec league all the time. I don't know if that, I got to the rec center recently trying to go play some hoops. There's no hoops happening down there most of the time. But even when there is, I just don't know if there's that love of the game or like that obsession with the game anymore. There's the whole load management issue, whatever. But I just wonder, like, if a guy from Colstrip, Montana can use a redshirt year and then become the freshman of the year in the Big Sky and then become a 1,700-point scorer who's a multiple-time first-team All-Big Sky guy, if that can happen 20 years ago, why can't it happen now? I still think it can. But if I am wrong, there is a why there. There has to be a why. Like, what is the reason why? Is college basketball that much better? Is recruiting that much more precise? Or is the kid from the small town just not getting the chance to do that? I think there has to be a direct correlation here between the fact that most of the best teams at the Division II and NAIA levels that have Montana guys on them are going deep in the national, like on the national scene. I just think that if you give these guys a chance, I just don't know what you can possibly lose from giving the 6'8" kid who shoots 40% from three and handles it like a point guard who's from your town. I don't know how you cannot give that guy an opportunity because this is a no-lose situation for you. You're going to engender yourself to the community. You're going to literally sell tickets for this guy to sit on your bench. There will be people that go if he doesn't even play a second. And then what happens if he gets really good and plays? I just don't understand how, like, if we believe that things in sports are generally linear, athletes are getting better, training is getting better, the dedication that people have to sport is getting better, high school basketball is at a higher level, recruiting is at a higher level, Division I basketball is at a higher level, then where is Montana fitting into this picture? Why is that not true on the boys basketball side of things? How many Division I girls basketball prospects do we have in Montana right now? A dozen? More? There's so many that Montana and Montana State can each sign collections of girls, and then there's still some for Eastern Washington and Stanford and St. Mary's and Cal and all these other schools to come get. Why is that not true on the boys' side? I think it is true on the boys' side. They're just not getting the opportunity. But if it's untrue and I'm wrong, that's fine. There's also a huge why. We have to fix that. This used to be a basketball state. Again, half of the great players for the Grizz are from Montana. So if the level really has fallen off, I'll eat my words. But we have to know why. It's one of my biggest whys right now in the sporting world in the state of Montana. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Hour 1 of the books, Hour 2 coming at you. Don't change that dial. We got plenty of spring football talk coming your way. It's ESPN Radio.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the exceptionally designed 2024 Buick Envision with models starting at $39,795. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to DeMorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Envisions and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
Life's about the journey, not the destination, right? Why can't it be about both?
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The Montana State women's basketball team is the only college team from Montana still playing after Rocky Mountain College's men lost a heartbreaker. I'm Jeff Safford. The Battling Bears had its epic run come to an end with a 60-55 loss to Langston University in the quarterfinals of the NAIA National Tournament. Rocky boat raced Simpson 94-59 before squeaking out a 67-66 win over Masters to advance to the round of 16 in Kansas City. A dramatic 78-73 overtime win over Frontier Conference squad Bellevue took them to the Elite Eight. Saturday, Rocky's historic season came to an end despite 21 points from Omari Nesbitt. Rocky finished the season 31-4. The Battling Bears had a season for the record books, setting new program highs in wins and conference wins. A program record 21-game winning streak also ended Saturday. Rocky won its first Frontier Conference championship since 2014 and earned its first national tournament appearance since 2019. The Bobcat women took care of business at home Sunday to keep its season alive in the second round of the WNIT. Taylor Chiric had 6 steals, and MSU forced 28 San Francisco turnovers on the way to a 69-53 win. The win is Montana State's 26th of the season, marking the second highest total in program history, behind only last year's 30-win campaign.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal has one bin recycling. They'll pick it up from your house. The plastic, the cardboard, all that stuff. You don't have to sort it, put it in your car, all that. They'll just come pick it up right there with your garbage twice a month. Grizzly Disposal. If you want to make the switch to locally owned and operated waste management, call 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171. Grizzly Disposal. Locally owned, veteran owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. You missed something in the show today. We talked a little bit about the brackets, a little bit about the pending, I'm not going to say death, but demise of the Cinderella. We talked about the last basketball team standing in the state of Montana. That's the Montana State women's basketball team. We also talked a little bit about my consternation about Lincoln Rogers going to Minnesota State Moorhead and not the Montana Grizzlies or the Montana State Bobcats or anybody else in the state of Montana. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe again, that's the whole point of my thesis here, right? Either Montana is producing good enough high school basketball players for them to get a shot in the state of Montana, and that shot is just not being provided, or they're not. Montana is not. And if Montana is not, why? What's happening? Again, 19 out of the 37 guys that scored 1,000 points for the Grizz over the last however many years in the history of the basketball team, which has been going on for 100-something years, are from Montana. So that what happened? There's just been nobody good enough since Jordan Haskett or Kevin Criswell? I just don't know if I believe it. What do you think? 406-888-1029. All that on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe. Couple other pieces of news for you. Baker's Avery O'Connor, that's the younger sister of Madison O'Connor. She committed to Montana State women's basketball. So speaking of in-state basketball players that are getting a shot, a lot of girls are, and several of them are going to Montana State. They have a nice core of Montanans right now, led by Taylor Chiric, Tegan Erickson, But they're adding a couple of other really good ones. Madison O'Connor will be an incoming freshman next year. She will join us later on this week. I have a Zoom call set up with her this tomorrow evening. So we'll hear from Madison probably Wednesday or Thursday here on the show. But now her younger sister into the boat. She's in some ways a similar player to Madison in her athleticism and length and competitiveness, but she's different as well. I mean, Madison O'Connor is she's a combo guard who's one of the best rebounders I've ever seen. That in itself makes her a rare talent. Avery O'Connor is more like a game wrecker. She's actually probably, she's 2 years younger, so she's on par with Madison defensively right now already, and probably is the better defender, and certainly will be the better defender by the time that she's a senior in high school. So that's just an interesting fold. I know one source within the Montana State program compares Avery O'Connor to Taylor Chiric, which I think it's a tough comparison because Chiric is ridiculous. She's a world-class athlete. But I think it's a good addition, and I think both those O'Connor sisters will make a splash, so we'll talk with Madison later on this week. One other women's basketball note, Lexi Deedon, who is a Missoula Sentinel product, who then played at Montana State and then spent her final year of college basketball at Colorado State. She played in the NCAA tournament yesterday, and Colorado State played Michigan State. Mara Dykstra, who also is a former Montana State women's basketball player, she played for Michigan State in this game. Deedon missed her only field goal attempt, but she finished with 1 rebound, 1 assist, and a block in 16 minutes off the bench. Dykstra played 13 minutes off the bench, scored 4 points on 2 of 5 shooting. She missed both her three-pointers, but she had 3 rebounds. Michigan State won this game over Colorado State. Dykstra and Deedon had a post-game embrace after the game. Deedon's college career came to an end with this one. She averaged 9.7 minutes per game for the Rams, 2.2 points, 2.2 rebounds. And Dykstra, she played 11.4 minutes per game for the Spartans. She started the first 10, but then her minutes really tapered off, played single-digit minutes most of Big Ten play. Dykstra ended up averaging 3.2 points and 1.7 rebounds per game. But Dykstra is on a team that is moving on in the NCAA tournament, and she did play 13 minutes in the NCAA tournament. So I don't know what to make of that. I mean, are they cautionary tales? Like, on one hand, you could say Dykstra's getting, 13 minutes is not no minutes. She would have been playing 30 minutes a game and been one of the best players in the conference if she stayed at Montana State. But she's not getting no minutes, right? So she's getting minutes from Michigan State. They're into the Sweet 16. So, that's pretty cool, testing yourself at the highest level. Deedon, she played about 10 minutes a game for Colorado State. She stays at Montana State. She plays, but I don't know if she plays over Addison Harris or Ella Johnson. She would have got minutes, but I don't know. Dykstra would have got a ton of minutes if she stayed at Montana State. Deedon, I think she would have played somewhere between 12 and 20 minutes a game. So, if you say, okay, new experience, I know both of them got NIL money. I know Dykstra got significant NIL money to go to Michigan State. Are they cautionary tales or not? I don't know. I think if you played on teams, if you got a little bit of playing time for teams that made the NCAA tournament, that's at least somewhat worth it, right? You could have stayed at Montana State and played more. I think if both of them stayed at Montana State, I think they put Montana State over the top, and Montana State wins the conference. But I don't know if they are cautionary tales. And then if you're looking for cautionary tales, sometimes there has been some where guys transfer and they don't really pan out. Then you have a guy like Dylan Darling, who was the Big Sky MVP at Idaho State, and what's he do yesterday? He beats the buzzer for St. John's and literally lifts the Red Storm into the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. Darling played about 18 minutes a game on a 30-win St. John's team, 6.5 points, 2.5 assists per game. So he's not a cautionary tale. Like, he transferred to the highest level of college basketball, and he's playing and he's contributing, and he had the game-winning shot for St. John's, and they're in the Sweet 16. Like, he beat Kansas. His shot beat Kansas. You could tell that story for the rest of your life. So there is no buyer's remorse if you are Dylan Darling. So I don't know. I think that sometimes people have been rooting for maybe there to be more cautionary tales out there in the wide world of college basketball, because I think they selfishly don't want players to leave. But I think that sometimes these players are good enough to go, and I think we just have to accept the reality of all of it. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Last Best Golf Company started in a garage 3 years ago with one goal: to deliver tour-quality club fitting and precision builds to golfers across western Montana. They have since outgrown the garage and are now located at 517 South Orange Street in Missoula. From beginners to pros, Last Best Golf Co. uses advanced technology and proven data to help you get the absolute most out of your game. With the spring right here. Spring started last week. Now's the time to book your equipment consultation and make 2026 your best season yet. At Last Best Golf Co., they don't just sell off-the-rack golf clubs. Last Best Golf Company builds pure performance, custom fit for you. Check out their shop at 517 Orange Street in Missoula. We'll take a break, come back and talk some spring football. We are expecting Isaac Keim, but I want to stay on time here. So we'll probably have him on for the last segment. We'll come back and talk running backs for both the Grizz and the Bobcats. Who is the leading candidates to back up Eli Gilman in Montana? Who's the leading candidates to be the 1A, 1B, 1C, whatever you want to call it, next to Adam Jones at Montana State? We'll discuss running back depth for both the Grizz and the Bobcats. That's next. Dow, keep it right here on 102.9 ESPN Radio.
What do you expect me to say to her? She's getting married in 30 minutes.
We're doing everything we can.
John, can you hear me? John?
At Shields, we're anglers, endlessly seeking and refining techniques. We're hunters and storytellers, because we've been out there. We're experts that put products and gear to the test, so we can share that knowledge with you. At Shields, we understand your outdoor journey and the path you're on, because we walk it too, every step of the way. Shields, right there with you.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
The rare moments in life, they're not just few and far between. They're meant to be treasured.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
Montana State women's basketball team is the only college team from Montana still playing after Rocky Mountain College's men lost a heartbreaker. I'm Jeff Safford. The Battling Bears had its epic run come to an end with a 60-55 loss to Langston University in the quarterfinals of the NAIA National Tournament. Rocky boat raced Simpson 94-59 before squeaking out a 67-66 win over Masters to advance to the round of 16 in Kansas City. A dramatic 78-73 overtime win over Frontier Conference squad Bellevue took them to the Elite Eight. Saturday, Rocky's historic season came to an end despite 21 points from Omari Nesbitt. Rocky finished the season 31-4. The Battling Bears had a season for the record books, setting new program highs in wins and conference wins. A program record 21-game winning streak also ended Saturday. Rocky won its first Frontier Conference championship since 2014 and earned its first national tournament appearance since 2019. The Bobcat women took care of business at home Sunday to keep its season alive in the second round of the WNIT. Taylor Chiric had 6 steals, and MSU forced 28 San Francisco turnovers on the way to a 69-53 win. The win is Montana State's 26th of the season, marking the second highest total in program history, behind only last year's 30-win campaign.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
The bracket looks pretty chalky. Almost everybody just as seeded, except for a couple. But Tennessee is a 6. It's not really a Cinderella. Even Texas is an 11. Iowa is a 9. It's not necessarily Cinderellas. Those are schools with top 50 basketball budgets that just happen to have up and down regular seasons, but got into the tournament because of the league they play in and then figured it out. But we don't have a non-Power 5, non-Power 4, non-Power Conference team in the Sweet 16. None. Last year, the field featured nothing but 1s and 2s making it to the Elite Eight, except for Texas Tech. They were the one that was outside of that. But I have theories about this. I think that if you are a school, like if you are like a Big East team, like St. John's or UConn has football, but they do not prioritize football whatsoever. They prioritize basketball, as they should. Basketball is the moneymaker. Basketball is the thing that gives them national prestige. They have a competitive national basketball budget. I think St. John's, first of all, you play in Madison Square Garden, so that's a huge boost. You play in New York City, you can recruit New York City, you can recruit the state of New York. That's a huge boost. But you also don't have to fund football, right? Like, that's a factor in building a basketball power. Like, what is it going to take for non-power conference teams to actually make runs in the NCAA tournament? Well, I think you have to have a Gonzaga model. I guess I don't know how a league like the Big Sky Conference, which prioritizes a second tier of Division I football, ever figures out a way to make a run in the NCAA tournament. If you're going to put your already limited number of resources into a sport that isn't basketball, I don't know how you do it. Like, that's a factor. You know, and it's easy to forget that just 3 years ago, Princeton was in the Sweet 16. Florida Atlantic made it to the Final Four. Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue as a 16 seed, and 15-seeded St. Peter's the year before, that was 2022, made it to the Elite Eight. Those runs, that was only 3 and 4 years ago, respectively. Are those runs impossible now? I don't know, but it's certainly getting harder. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, the best teams are just better. And they're better for a lot of reasons. They're better because of NIL, but it's not just that. They're better because of transfers, but it's not just that. They're better because of experience, retention, and coaching. Coaches have never made a higher ticket here, right? You can say, well, Coulter, North Carolina got knocked out in the first round. You could say Coulter. Kansas got knocked out in the second round. Okay, I see that. I see those. But what does almost every, if not every, Sweet 16 team have right now? They have an elite coach. They have some semblance of roster continuity. And or if they don't have roster continuity, it's because they put together a great group of freshmen and or transfers. I think those guys can certainly carry you. I also think that the more veteran guys right now are staying in school. And it's not because of anything besides NIL. Like, think of all the guys that were Alex Condon or Thomas Hahn from Florida, right? Yaxel Lindenberg from Michigan. Milos Uzan, Josen Tugler from Houston. Braden Smith of Purdue. Those dudes are leaving for the NBA after last year. Almost always in the history of college basketball. Well, now they make 7 figures at their school. Why would they leave? So the best teams have had more roster retention. They've had more talent than ever before. And it's just harder and harder for small schools to maintain that level of talent. We're going to hash this out more a little later on, but I wanted to touch on my thesis for the week. It's now 102.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks to our great friends at Blackfoot Communications. They hosted our watch parties last week, and they were a great deal of fun. We were at the press box on Thursday, and we were at the Rockin' R Bar in Bozeman on Friday. Blackfoot Communications has been helping Montanans make strong connections for more than 70 years. They have headquarters in both Missoula and Bozeman. They've been providing steady, high-quality jobs to Western Montanans for decades. As a caring neighbor, Blackfoot shows their support by giving back to local organizations, causes, and schools in ways that truly matter. Blackfoot's mission is to connect people, businesses, and communities. Connect to more with Blackfoot Communications. To find out how Blackfoot can improve your connection to your community, visit Blackfoot.com. Let's talk some spring football. Isaac Keim, a Kalispell Glacier product, who is a defensive lineman for the Grizz football team. He'll join us whenever the Grizz get done with practice. We've been sort of going through it. I did a pretty big breakdown last week on the Grizz. We did the defensive breakdown overall just in terms of installing a new scheme, etc., for the Grizz when we heard from Eric Sanders, the new defensive coordinator. We talked about sort of the offensive stalwarts that existed for the Grizz when Bobby Kennedy highlighted Kaylee Ayat, Eli Gilman, Brooks Davis in his pre-spring press conference. We talked about sort of the concept of Brett Vigen's Bobcats defending a championship. Like, what's the mentality take? What's driving them forward right now? So you can go sort of pick through our Nuanez Now podcast if you want to revisit any and all of those conversations. But then last week we talked about the Grizz offensive line and the Grizz wide receivers. We also talked about the Bobcat wide receivers, and we heard from Taco Dowler. I want to talk some running backs today because I think it's a really interesting deal. First of all, I think Eli Gilman is one of the best players in the country. Montana's senior running back. He was the Big Sky Conference Offensive Player of the Year last year. He's been All-American twice. He's an unbelievable player. I think Adam Jones is one of the best players in the country, too. Missoula Sentinel product who's going into his junior year at Montana State. He was the freshman of the year in the league 2 years ago. He's been an all-conference guy the last 2 seasons. He's been over 1,000 yards 2 years in a row. Last year, Stevie Rocker and Malai Finoti did a good job of spelling Eli Gilman. And, you know, as I said off the top, Gilman's a great player. He's an incredibly tough guy. He's a powerful runner, but also has a ton of speed. But he's just a man. He's not immortal. He is a mortal man, even if he is a tremendous player. But how many carries can you? I mean, he had 250 carries last year in 15 games. I mean, to me, that's about the spot-on exact number you'd want for him, right? But they were able to then spell him by giving Michael Wortham 57 carries, Stevie Rocker 45 carries, Malai Finoti 48 carries, Hashim Jones got 29 carries, Kelly Ayak got 68 carries. That was influenced by sacks a little bit. Tommy Running Rabbit even got a handful of carries. So you have to find a way to replace. I mean, I'm just doing the mental math here. Over 100 for sure, 150. I mean, again, if you're going to run, let's say you're going to run like an average about 70 to 75 plays a game. If Gilman's getting 18 carries a game and you're going to throw the ball, let's say 35 times a game, that's still another, at the very least, 12 to 20 carries you need to figure out a way to dole out. So who is the next guy? Stevie Rocker graduated. Malai Finoti transferred to Missouri. But Hashim Jones is a guy that looked really good during his limited action last year. He had crazy numbers coming out of high school. He played in 6 games, but I'm almost certain 2 of those were in the playoffs, so I'm pretty sure he was able to maintain his red shirt. If that's the case, that's great because that'll give him a whole extra year. Yes, that's right. He played against South Dakota State, South Dakota, and Montana State in the playoffs. So those did not count. So just 3 regular season games, even though he played 6 games. Rushed 29 attempts for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns overall. Scored against Portland State and scored against South Dakota. But he's a guy that they're very high on, and I know that the last staff was high on him. The current staff is high on him. He's from a place that hardly anybody has ever been from for the Grizz. He's from Hartford, Connecticut. He rushed for over 2,000 yards and averaged 12.2 yards per carry in his senior season, 26 touchdowns. He was the Conference Player of the Year, 3-time All-Conference player there. And he finished his career with 6,810 total yards, including 5,037 rushing, 1,706 passing, and also had 67 receiving yards as well. He chose Montana over offers from Akron, Bowling Green, Central Connecticut, and Central Michigan. So he was sort of like a group of 5 level of recruit. He also had interest from Boston College and Iowa. So, I mean, the guy was a high-level recruit. It's not like he was totally overlooked. There just hasn't been a lot of guys from Hartford, Connecticut that came to Montana. So it's funny because Finoti ended up in the SEC, but you wonder if – I mean, I'm high on Finoti. I was actually like the president of the Malai Finoti fan club. I thought he looked great during fall camp. He ended up having fine numbers for the Grizz, but probably did not get the touches he thought maybe he deserved. I don't know how he's going to get more touches by transferring to Missouri in the SEC, but maybe he will. Maybe there's a guy not as good as Eli Gilman in front of him in Missouri. I'm not sure. But I just wonder, like, if Jones, there's a reality here in which Hashim Jones might have beat out Malai Finoti if Finoti stays in Montana. Again, I'm high on Finoti. I think Jones is a glider. Honestly, who does Jones remind me of? Jones. He reminds me of Adam Jones. Not the same backstory whatsoever, but certainly the way they glide and sort of walk on water. Similar running styles, no doubt, but pretty similar size to Jones. Adam Jones goes about 6'1", 195. Hashim Jones goes about 6 feet, 205. But interesting. I have high expectations for Hashim Jones. I know the coaching staff does as well, and I know that they're banking on either him or Dylan Payne, who's a running back transfer from South Dakota, either or maybe both, picking up the slack with the graduation of Rocker and the transfer of Finoti. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. On the Montana State side of things, they got to find somebody to replace Julius Davis. Davis rushed for over 2,000 yards for the Cats the last 2 years. Last 3 years. He missed most of 2 years ago, but he had a great year in 23, and then missed he missed most of 24, and then had a great year last year as well. He's a tough, hard-nosed, aggressive runner. Adam Jones is a proven commodity. Who's the next guy up then? Colson Kuhn is a small school guy out of Wyoming, but I love his style. I mean, he's a rough-and-tumble guy. If that guy was a running back in the AA or the A in Montana, he would fit right in. He reminds me of some of the old-school Montana running backs for sure. Jared White's been around for a long time. He had a couple breakout plays in years, but he's sort of been waiting his turn. He's like a third down back more than a between the tackles guy, but he's a talented guy too. Cale Breslin's the guy they brought in as a transfer from Nevada. He's huge. He's like 230 pounds. Malachi Claunch is a guy that was a great player at Billings West High School. He's coming off a red shirt. Shanko Kornichuk is another guy who I know they were high on in recruiting. And George Helms, a kid out of Big Sky, Montana, went to Lone Peak High School. Then he went to a prep school and ended up coming back to Montana State. He's an intriguing prospect, too. I don't know where Claunch, Kornichuk, or Helms fits in, but we've seen guys break out that during spring ball. Like, that's what Jones did. I mean, Jones was sort of in the exact same mold as Claunch when he was a redshirt freshman. And people were kind of wondering, okay, can this guy play? Can this guy play? Is he going to be a contributor? And then by the end of spring ball, Adam Jones's redshirt freshman year, you're like, oh, that guy can't stay off the field. You got to get that guy in the offense a ton. That could be Claunch. I don't know if he's as good as Jones, but he's a similar mold. He's kind of like a scat back. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He's fast. Comes from a good high school program at Billings West. But I also think Breslin, the eye test isn't everything, but, man, Breslin looks the part. He is Jack City, man. He is a huge running back, and they might need that to go. I mean, they might need a little fire and ice, right? A little thunder and lightning with Adam Jones. White's just a proven commodity. I think he'll be ready to make plays anytime you put him in there. And I love Kuhn, but Kuhn's got to prove that he can be durable. They didn't have any running backs by the end of spring last year, and Kuhn had to be the guy that carried the load the entire spring game. He was whipped by the end of it, but he's the guy that has the most experience. He's the guy that has produced the most, other than White. White's also produced quite a bit in his Bobcat career, but Kuhn's the guy that's produced the most so far in his career. I mean, he's got 70 carries for 486 yards, a couple touchdowns for Montana State. And I just like the style of running that he brings to the table, and I think that if given the opportunity, he could be a guy that really produces. White is a guy that he's had flashes. He's gotten in the mix. I mean, he's scored probably double-digit touchdowns in his Bobcat career between all the different seasons that he's had opportunities. In 23, he rushed for 524 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, he had that was as a freshman, so he certainly had some production there. And then he sort of kind of just got passed over by guys a little better. 24, he rushed 46 times for 254 yards. And, I mean, he's knocking on the door of being, over 1,500 yards in his career. I just wonder if they go Jones number one and then the next guy by committee. Who's feeling it? Who's in the best condition, who's in the best health. There's a scenario in which Jones, Kuhn, White, Breslin, and Claunch all get carries. Montana State's going to run the ball more in Montana, so that's more carries to go around, I think. So it should be an interesting deal to follow. But as I always say, Montana and Montana State have had great running backs forever, and they always are going to. And if they don't, that is a problem, because I think it's the easiest position to recruit in terms of evaluating, because you don't have to have some sort of crazy huge guy, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of 5'10", 190 to 210-pound guys out there that are really good running backs. You can also get great running backs to come to the league, right? And you can get them to stay. This has been a phenomenon that's been going on for a while now. Like Isaiah Fonse was the Washington Gatorade Player of the Year before he went to Montana State. Eli Gilman, the Minnesota Player of the Year in high school before he went to Montana. Josh Davis was the Utah Player of the Year before he went to Weber State and was a 4-year starter. Cam Scadaboo was a 3-star recruit out of Sacramento area, decided to stay home, play at Sac State before he transferred to Arizona State. Lan Larison, awesome player, UC Davis. Came to him from Caldwell, Idaho, but I mean, he was a guy that was an Idaho Player of the Year. It was a 3-year starter there at UC Davis. There's been a lot of really good running backs. Elijah Dotson was a great running back at Sac State and then Northern Colorado. DeMond Bankston was great at Weber State, taking over for Davis. Then he transferred to New Mexico. Scott Ray Humphrey at Montana State. So you've had some elite guys. You can recruit that position at an incredibly elite level, and if you can tell a guy he could be the man at one of the Montana schools, you're going to get a good guy. And there's just so many carries to go around. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Football talk. Spring football is rolling at both Montana and Montana State. Spring football, spring sports officially here We're talking soccer, baseball, softball, lacrosse. If you got an athlete in the house, you know it's go time. Before that first whistle blows, make one stop, Bob Ward's. They got the new releases hitting the floor right now. Fresh gloves, bats, cleats, soccer balls, training gear, everything your athlete needs to start the season strong. And the best part is you can see it all in one place instead of running all over town. They got great winter clearance going on right now. I got a sweet North Face jacket for half price at Bob Ward's a couple weekends ago. Huge savings, top name brands, all under one roof. Shop Bob Ward's, Montana's oldest sporting goods retailer, and get geared up for the season right away. Take one more break. Isaac Kime, Kalispell Glacier on the other side. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
Access to Montana's great backyard is the best part of being a Grizzly. At the University of Montana, our classrooms are the mountain peaks, river valleys, and never-ending plains of the Big Sky Country. We provide students with the hands-on training to protect and enjoy hunting, conservation, and stewardship. UM launches the careers of outdoor leaders so that they can protect our traditions and ensure they are passed down for future generations. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
Why would any business let you use their product and give you 365 days of reassurance? Mattress Firm does because they believe in their mattresses. Save on top brands like Nectar, Tempur-Pedic, Beautyrest, Serta, Stearns & Foster, and others. Mattress Firm carries $149 mattresses all the way up to the luxury Purple Rejuvenate Premier. 0% in payments as low as $39 a month, along with 365 days of reassurance. See why Mattress Firm is Montana's best place to find the sleep you deserve.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Colter Nuanez. Appreciate you for hanging with us. Plenty of talking points today. We talked NCAA tournament. We talked WNIT with Montana State women's basketball. Heard from Ian Laird, play-by-play man there for Bobcat men's and women's hoops on the ESPN Plus stream. Talked Lincoln Rogers, Gatorade Player of the Year from Missoula Sentinel. Also talked some Cinderella is dead, ? and all the reasons why. And we'll have more reasons why throughout the week. And we also talked about running back depth for both the Grizz and Bobcat football teams. All of that is available on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe. And also, if you ever want to let us know what you want us to talk about, 406-888-1029. But please rate, review, subscribe on our podcast and on our YouTube channel. It definitely really helps us out. We are awaiting, perhaps, just depends. It's always a moving target with these post-practice interviews. And sometimes I don't know. I think if I just get them for like 2 minutes, is it worth it? Well, yeah, because I think I can still get a question or two in. And I don't know. It's just live radio, right? So, I mean, I'm going to be talking about Grizz football anyways. Might as well talk about it with somebody, especially a Grizz guy. Or when you're talking about Bobcat football, why not talk about it with somebody that is a Bobcat guy? I think, though, that the Grizz have this distinct group of players on their team that are guys that have been in the program, biding their time, waiting their turn, and I think that this is a huge spring ball for them because it's a fresh start with a new coaching staff. The type of guy I'm talking about is a guy like Ian Finch. He's had some big plays on special teams, but he's just been sort of jammed up at the wide receiver spot. A guy like Cash Gokachia, he's a big recruit out of Kalispell Glacier. Now here he is, a redshirt sophomore. Like, can he make some waves? A guy like Cade Boyd. He got a ton of playing time last year as a safety out of Billings Central, but he wasn't the man. He wasn't a starter. Can he become that? Can he become a guy that is sort of like a headlining type of player? Cade Cutler, who's joined us here on the show already during spring ball. Again, he's a senior now. He's a guy from Phillipsburg, Montana. He's cut his teeth. He's been in and out with injuries, but now here he is. This is his last year. Like, can he maximize it? Then there's the guys that are a little younger, like Grady Walker. Physical specimen, excellent athlete, was awesome in football and basketball at Missoula Sentinel. Then he gets to college, he's got to develop. He's been there, but he's been sitting for the last 2 years. He's got a smattering of playing time, but he redshirted and then had a redshirt freshman year where he was sort of buried. How does he respond? How does he rise up? Clay Oven, another guy. This is his fourth year. He's a fourth-year junior. But can he go from a guy that was a splash player to a starter to now can he be a star? Can he be, can he be the next 37 that's tearing it up at Washington Grizzly Stadium? All-conference type of player. Isaac Keim, who's going to join us at least maybe if we don't run out of time here. Defensive lineman out of Kalispell Glacier. I mean, he's up to 265 pounds. He's a redshirt sophomore. Same deal, same story. Been there, been waiting his turn, been building up his body. Can he make an impact? But I think that, again, these guys sort of have nothing to lose because all these guys are from Montana, first and foremost, right? They've shown their dedication. They've stuck with the program. They've been there. If they can rise up and do it, great job by them. Maybe the new opportunity was what they needed. Maybe it was just, waiting their turn, and patience pays off. If they can't do it, well, why not? What is the thing that's eluded them? Is it development? Were they, did they not reach their potential? Is that on the player? Is that on the system? Is that on the strength and conditioning? I'm not sure. Torin Jeske, another guy that's sort of in that mold. He's a kid out of Bozeman High. I thought he was a better basketball player than he was a football player, but I think that bodes well when you're talking about a guy that's a lineman. He's got his weight up to 271, which that means he's maybe getting closer to being ready to contribute on the offensive line. Again, a kid from Bozeman. Ezra Meyer. I mean, I remember thinking he was physically formidable. He's only a redshirt freshman, but he's up to 290 pounds on his 6'5" frame. He's out of Missoula Big Sky. Like, is he ready? And it's not just the guys from Montana, but I just think that there's a distinct group from Montana. Danny Sermon's another one that's sort of been in that mold, that's been sort of right there. with the guys that have been waiting their turn that I think people thought were good recruits coming out of high school, and then they've just been in the natural progression, waiting their turn. But they also have been buried not just because of the natural progression, but also because of the influx of transfers that Montana has put a high priority on recruiting. I just think that these guys would be in a – I think they'd be more buried if it wasn't a coaching change. I just think that with a new staff – the whole narrative was that Bobby Hauck retiring and Bobby Kennedy taking over was going to give them staff continuity, but now that the dust is settled, that's just not the case, right? Brent Pease is back as the offensive coordinator, but that's about it, right? They're going to have a different – I mean, Rob Fennessy's back in the tight ends coach, but you got a new offensive line coach in Brent Myers. You got a new running backs coach in Dom Dasty. You got new defensive coaches across the board, from Eric Sanders at DC to Jalen Johnson on the D-line to Wes Nurse in the secondary. You still got Kim McLeod back as your corners coach, but so many of these coaches are new. That means if you're a guy – that's been in the system, been in the program, but now it's back to a level playing field, right? No one has an advantage on the Grizz defense right now in terms of being more veteran within it. It's all new. It's all new defense, a whole new staff. So you got a chance to prove yourself, show out, make an impression, but also if you can learn it as faster than the guys that are right around you or right above you on the depth chart, you are certainly going to be able to make some waves. Sounds like Isaac Keim is still doing some practice stuff, so we will try again. But all good. Again, it's a moving target. I appreciate University of Montana for trying with us. Yeah, it's a different deal because, like, right now, all the reporters that, like the TV guys, they're just down there right now. And, when practice gets done, it gets done. Those guys get some interviews. I'm going to try to line some stuff up maybe that's not during the live show just so we can get some content for you. But either way, this is nobody's fault. This is how it goes, right? I mean, they're back from spring break. They certainly had a long practice. Bobby Kennedy probably wanted to make sure that they run off any of the stuff that they got into during spring break. And so all good, but we will certainly circle back around. But it's just a good entry point to talk about Grizz football anyways, right? Like my premise for wanting Isaac Keim on the show remains the same. I think that the fact is that he's been able to put on the weight. He looks the part. Now, can he figure out a way to get on the field? You need to be able to get on the field during that redshirt sophomore year if you've been doing it right? If you've been training, if you've been eating, if you've been lifting, if you've been doing all that stuff, now you got to get on the field to play because you got to prove that you can play at the highest level. Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio will be back at it tomorrow. We will have Tommy Brown from the Havre girls basketball team joining us, talking about their state championship. Also, Efforting Lodgegrass. Tyson Grovant, the head coach there at Lodgegrass, trying to get a hold of him and maybe one of his players as well. And we'll keep on making the rounds with the rest of our state champions. We heard from Lincoln Rogers and Sam Bigley from Missoula Sentinel last week. We also heard from Jim Sturgar from Billings Central boys basketball. And we're going to hear from Madison O'Connor from the Baker girls later on this week. So all that coming your way. We'll see you at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Tons of prep hoops. See you then. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.